In this video, we're going to talk about Gen Z and Millennials who feel lost in life. They want to save themselves from being trapped in jobs they don't like and the circumstances they don't like, feeling lost, broke, burned out. And I want to show you how to take control and start winning. So we're going to go through some of these situations. I'm going to provide some real practical solutions to help them earn more money, build more freedom, and stop wasting years of their life in a dead-end situation. I've helped guys turn around their situation through my 12-week coaching program. Link in the description if you're interested. Let's listen to some of these interesting case studies here.
What am I doing? And what's crazy is our parents' generation had a roadmap. It was college, job, marriage, kids, house. But I swear that map just doesn't work anymore. So all of this pressure that we're feeling is from the story that's been told to us for years and years and years. So we're sitting here rushing, trying to check all of these boxes that don't matter. And what's insane is once you realize this, all of that pressure just goes away and you notice that you weren't actually running out of time at all. You were just running away from being present in your own journey.
So that's a short clip to start with, right? He's saying that many people who are Gen Z and Millennials, they feel like they're running out of time, right? They have no roadmap compared to previous generations, a lack of stability. They can't follow the traditional path of studying, working, getting married, buying a house, having kids. There's so much instability. I'd recommend you to be present in your own journey. Like he says here, there's a phrase I use on my channel, run your own races. When I say run your own races, what I mean by that, you're in your own path, you're in your own lane. You can't be constantly comparing yourself to others. Another popular phrase that's been on social media in recent months or years is comparison is the theft of joy. So you can't be constantly comparing yourself. There are other people out there who are getting handouts from their parents. Some people running scams online and they're making money, credit card scams, all types of nonsense. So you never know how people are making money and people are presenting the best version of themselves online. Don't compare yourself to previous generations where they had it easy, or others in your generation who might have a secret source of money. Maybe a woman who acts like she's working a normal job and she's a sugar baby or a OF content creator. There's guys out here who are driving expensive cars that their parents help finance. You just don't know what's going on, right? So you can't be caught up all the time comparing yourself to others. Other people in previous generations that had an easy, stable path that you don't have, right? So a lot of this comes down to mindset, and that's what he's saying, and that's what I'm saying is a solution to start off with, right? Is to build your own path, understand the era you're living in, and live for that era, which is the era we live in. People are more selfish, they're more transactional in relationships. It's more an individual era rather than a family era, right? It's more of an individual doing what benefits them rather than a community era. And while you might yearn to have a big family or a big healthy community, if you're not living in that era, it's pushing to live in a different time period. It's like the joke people make online about how men always think about the Roman Empire, right? You're not living in the Roman Empire. You're not living in the Greek Empire. And the way people look back on some of these prehistoric times, they were so fun. Now, if you were a man during the Roman Empire, you probably would have passed away in combat, right? Defending the Roman Empire, right? If you were a man living a traditional life in the 1950s, you might have got a bit tired or stressed out or burnt out from playing your gender role. So just enjoy the era you're in rather than getting caught up with, oh, I should have bought a house by now, I should be married by now. You're living in a broken society, so don't get caught up with all the comparisons. Now let's listen to this next strong, brave, courageous woman here.
I have zero motivation to plan out my future because it feels like the world is ending. I feel so lost, but also so stuck. The state of the world is horrifying, and I just don't feel secure enough to invest in a future that isn't certain. I don't know if that makes sense. I had such a straightforward plan for life. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had options, plan A through F, and nothing is even feasible anymore in this economy. They really were like, just go to school and get good grades and you'll be set for life. I graduated with a bachelor's degree with honors. And it's like, so I can whether be unemployed, work minimum wage jobs, or I can be in debt for the rest of my life and go back to school. And it's like, what I want to do, the field that I know I'm going to be happy in, isn't super reasonable anymore because of the job market. And I'm struggling to find the point. What's the point? I feel like time is just moving so fast too. How did Christmas pass? Mentally, I'm still in 2022. I wish I had some sense of security, but nothing is certain. And I wish I had a fast forward button so I could just skip over all of this. All I'm asking for is security and stability. But obviously that's too much to ask for anymore.
So she's got a fair point here, right? There's a lot of instability, right? And the solution that people want is to build a fulfilling life. And you can build a fulfilling life in many ways outside of work, right? You can have healthy boundaries with the economy, the news, and what's current world events. I understand some of those things do impact you, like higher living costs, but you try to, at least mentally, have a mindset separate from that. Plan for a future, right? Where you focus on maximizing minimalism, multiplying your money. You should look to avoid miserable marriages, massive mortgages. That's how you avoid the issues of previous generations and other people around you. Most people are not being set up to win. The system is setting up most people to fail, right? And rather than getting worried about instability, embrace the insecurity through good, healthy routines and good plans and being adaptable, right? I always say you got to see your life in this system. You're in a UFC fight, you're in a martial arts fight, right? For lack of a better phrase, you're in a boxing fight. The system's trying to outsmart you, trying to poison you through the food supply, the water supply, lie to you, force you into debt by going to expensive educational establishments and paying all types of money for extra qualifications that might not increase your salary. They're trying to lie to you. Every point of this system's trying to scam you some type of way. She should be hyper flexible. Being a minimalist makes that a lot easier because you don't have a bunch of expensive items lugging around. I think she's got a fair point. Since 2020, time has sped up. It feels like everything's going super fast. Sometimes it's super good, but most of the time it's super negative, right? So security and stability just don't exist in this era, and you just need to plan ahead by adapting to that reality.
Can we just talk about how paying rent in this economy totally takes away your social privileges? It's a Saturday and I want to go out and I want to do something, but I literally have no money. After paying rent, I have like $3.42 in my account. What am I supposed to do with that? You know what I'm saying? And I understand there's like 3 things to do, but I literally feel like whenever you step out of your house, you just automatically spend money just on anything. It's an automatic response. And it just sucks because it's like, I know I can find things around the house to do. I could read or I could like watch a movie, but sometimes I want to get out of my comfort zone. Sometimes I want to get out of the house and do something. Sometimes I want to go socialize. I want to sit somewhere and go somewhere and be cute. You know what I'm saying? But this is just what it is right now. And I don't know if anybody else is going through this, and it just sucks, bro. And it's like, I'm working to change my situation, but like being so isolated because my finances just don't allow me to do a lot of extracurricular activities is just really depressing.
Now, when I see someone like this, I'm not trying to say anything negative here, but I feel like she's going to be having a mental breakdown in the next 2 years because things are going to get worse with this particular financial setup. Is she living alone? Is she sharing a flat? What is it? Why is she dealing with such difficult financial circumstances that she has like $3 in her account at this point, right? And the solution is to really think about understanding the system has no roadmap for you, right? The system has a roadmap for you to fail. You should think for yourself and don't benchmark yourself with where other people are. Really think for yourself. Men are going to adapt better than women in these very difficult times coming ahead that we're already dealing with, right? Men can deal with extreme frugal and minimalism type of lifestyles, and the pressure of being a minimalist, the pressure of having less material items, the pressure of not fitting in, being an outcast, of being a lone wolf. Men can deal with that much better than women. You see how many men have silently dropped out of society, sitting at home playing video games. You don't really hear about them. You might see them occasionally, right? Many men who are just single, who may be stashing their savings or investing, keeping a low profile, they can really manage these difficult times, right? Men who are making a lot of money and men who aren't are going to be able to survive as lone wolves by themselves, sleeper cells, dare I say, when the system's collapsing and crushing people financially. But these women are going to really snap at some point. You can see the crazy in our eyes. So things are going to get a lot worse, and you need to plan ahead for that.
My generation that was able to buy a home in my 20s. And I'll tell you, it was mostly luck. I am very privileged that I got to do this, but now I might have to sell my home in the next couple of years because the price at which my mortgage is increasing is something that I can't keep up with anymore because insurance companies are jacking up our insurance premiums every year, year after year. It's always an increase. And then Zillow came in during the pandemic and bought all of the houses in my neighborhood, and it made my property value go up, which sounds good, but now the city appraises my home for a lot more than I bought it for. And that is also jacking up my mortgage each year. So now my mortgage has gone up almost $300, $400 per month each year. That's thousands of dollars that now have to go to my mortgage that aren't going to food or leisure or other necessities for the home, maintenance. And I just can't help but think I did everything right. I bought within my means, and I was supposed to be able to live happily here. And now they're taking it away through economic manipulation, to be completely honest. We're not going to be able to own fucking shit in a few years.
Now, here's a guy making another excellent point, right? I think he's basically saying how the system is rigged. He managed to buy a property. Now, all of a sudden, he's struggling. And this is why I tell you to avoid, right? Avoid massive mortgages and miserable marriages. I get the impression he was able to afford this property, but he was maybe quite close to that limit, right? In the sense that he maxed out his income compared to what the mortgage could be. And he's like, oh, I'll be able to manage this. But he didn't factor in, what if the interest rates goes up? What if another expense comes in? How will I deal with this? People are living at the edge of their means. They're not living well within their means. And I see this all the time. People are ethnically Asian. You see many people who are having expensive weddings, and they're not really accounting for where the economy actually is, right? Would I, for example, recommend having a wedding where the catering cost is $10,000, for example? I know someone who had a wedding that cost that much during 2020 onwards, and it's like, do they not realize inflation's going to keep going up? Their job instability isn't there, particularly when the husband's making 40k a year, the wife is making 90k a year, she's a dentist, he's a policeman. That's not really a smart decision to be spending 10k on catering for your wedding. Is completely ridiculous, right? But these are the type of things that people aren't planning ahead for. People are getting these massive houses that they think they can afford, but what if they lose their job? What if one of those people in that marriage example I gave you lose their job and they bought an expensive house for $500,000? It just doesn't make sense. People are making ridiculous decisions. You want to focus on avoiding the massive mortgages, and remember my warning about this, right? You want to be flexible, be adaptable, be ready to move. If you can get a job abroad and it's in a low tax location like Dubai or Abu Dhabi, you might want to go for that. You want to focus on being strong, rich, and free, right? These are the type of things I try to encourage you to do. That's more important, right? That freedom is more important than just owning a property for the social status of it, or just because that's what you're told to do. Sometimes renting is the right answer, and buying isn't the right answer when it comes to property. Here's an interesting article that says that Gen Z are over having their work ethic, right? Many people are struggling with this type of scenario, with being judged, being younger, and being less motivated. Here it says here, we need to stop expecting the same damn people who bought a 4-bedroom home and a brand new Cadillac convertible off of a $30,000 a year salary to understand what it's like to be working 40 plus hours with a master's degree and still not being able to afford a 400 square foot studio apartment in Iowa, right? The whole point is that the older generations, the boomers, they were able to buy a big house with a 30 grand a year salary, bedroom house, and now someone with the same salary can't even afford a 400 square foot apartment. So it really shows you how unfair things are and how Gen Z are getting angry and lead to instability over time. Gen Z are getting angry, entitled, and whiny. This is what some of the older generation feel. Not because they're less willing to work than the previous generations, but they've got nothing to show for it, for all the hard work that they're doing. About 20% of job seekers have been looking for a job for 10 to 12 months. So people are dealing with instability when it comes to their job. Even if they get a job, they could be facing a layoff. And then after they get a job, they'll be getting paid that well to be having a good quality of life. So it's kind of difficult for a lot of people in this generation. Even someone who's Gen X is saying, I'm 44 and I'll tell you, we're not working the same 40 hours we used to do in our previous office jobs when I was younger. We're doing the work of 2 to 3 people. So people are getting a tough deal, right? It's unfair. They're not being able to afford a property, not being able to have job security, doing more work because job cuts are occurring. So if you keep your job, you have to do the work of the employees that have been forced out the company. Can't even think about, others having healthy relationships or families, difficult things. And this is what I'd encourage you to do, to think carefully for yourself. Save yourself first. Don't get caught up in thinking, oh, I've got to do what my parents did and buy a house and get married and have kids. That might not be the smart decision. You don't want to follow the crowd and be the idiot like the rest of society. Lots of people are getting thrown into the meat grinder, thrown into the wood chipper financially, economically, with having higher levels of debt, massive mortgages, unhappy relationships, things like this, right? They're being set up to fail. So they're being set up to own nothing and be happy. In some cases, you could own more and be happy by saving, investing, living a lower cost of living lifestyle, being an outcast, letting people call you, oh, you're not having any fun. You're not having fun. You're not going out like us. You're not going on a weekend trip throughout Europe every couple of weekends like we do, right? You want to run in the opposite direction of society. The majority of society, the NPCs, the normies, whatever you want to call them, mainstream society, they're taking a wide path. You want to go down the narrow path and go in the opposite direction of this society. You see how easily misled they are, particularly after 2020, with all these people following all these dumb rules. Now it says here, roughly half of Gen X workers say they don't want to return to the office because it means they can't binge watch their favorite shows. 84% of Gen Z workers admit that they stream shows and movies when they're working from home. It's not just passive background noise. It's part of how they take breaks, stay stimulated, and even manage their focus throughout the day. It's an understatement to say that today's employees are up against a lot, both professionally and personally. There's dealing with burnout, overwork, disengagement in their personal life, all contributing to a sense of low well-being. For many, when they're working from home, having a show or podcast or music in the background isn't a distraction. It's a form of body doubling to enhance focus. Now, this is the thing. When you live in such a dysfunctional society, you need constant coping mechanisms. And we do live in a dysfunctional society. And what are the coping mechanisms people use? Listening to podcasts in their headphones, reality around them, scrolling through their phone, right? So invested in TV shows. People are so invested in TV shows and Netflix shows like as a coping mechanism, right? Instead of using substances. This is what I mean about the ridiculousness of this society. It's kind of people into escapism, and that's why people want to work from home, just so they can have a TV show in the background rather than be at work in the office where people are gossiping, creating unnecessary drama. And this is how tough it can be for people. So I understand why people who are in Gen Z or even millennials who want to think about how they're dealing with life and maybe struggling with the work environment. Now, this brings me on to the 10th lesson within my Career Code course, link in description if you want to learn all the lessons. In my course, I tell you how to create a strategic inner circle. You want to surround yourself with allies and mentors to ensure your career and really your life has long-term stability, because many people are being misled. Oh, go and get a massive mortgage to buy this apartment, and then the interest rate goes up and they can't afford it. You got to have people who have success, who've built the success you're looking for. Don't just go for your typical cringe corporate. You don't want to go for your cringe corporate mentor, right? The person at work who's telling you, oh, just work hard, keep your head down, you'll be fine. You don't want advice from idiots like this. You want people you can actually trust, like myself, an honest career coach with you, or you have people who are older than you who have achieved what you want to achieve. And what you might want to achieve might not be what mainstream society is telling you. It might be an uncle who's not married, who doesn't have kids, who lives by himself and has fun and travels, right? It might be a family friend who lives a lifestyle that's minimalist, whatever it could be. They practice martial arts and they're not focused on having a high paying career. They just live a low key lifestyle. This is what I mean when I say select a strategic inner circle. It's not people who are just making more money. Lots of people think, oh, if I want to be successful, I got to be around people who are making tons of money. Yeah, that's good. Nothing wrong with being around successful people at work or people who are wealthy. But you've got to think about what lifestyle comes with that and what long-term stability means for you. It doesn't necessarily always mean having an expensive car and an expensive watch. This is why you've got to be able to plan ahead for these type of instances. Now, I have 10 years experience in the finance industry, Goldman's, Morgan Stanley, sales and trading, investment banking type of roles, and successful job applications at many top firms from JP Morgan to Deloitte to hedge funds and private equity firms. I have career coaching. There's a link in description if you're struggling with some of these scenarios. I'll help you secure a promotion faster, make a lot more money, invest that money, build towards your financial freedom. If you're dealing with a layoff or a career change right now, career transition, you're looking to land your new job, I will help you through that. I also have a coaching program for that, link in description again, and then the course to talk you through how to deal with office politics. So you have all the solutions waiting for you in the link in description. And then lastly, there's also a link to the Mailbox Money newsletter. Every Monday and Friday, you'll get an email sent to your inbox with tons of helpful career tips. And I look forward to helping you there too. Let me know what you think about this dynamic, about men kind of getting frustrated with the workplace, or Gen Z and millennials, broadly speaking, feeling lost in life. So are you all plan to save yourself in this dysfunctional economy and society? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. 2 recommended videos on the screen right now.